Hello my loves and welcome back to my channel, unless you are just now finding my channel, in which case.
Hey, what's up? Hello.
So today I'm going to be telling you guys a little bit of a story time video. I was thinking about some stuff that happened recently in high school, just kind of reminiscing on some things. And I was thinking about some kind of funny stories I could tell you guys, and I have a million really weird, really funny stories because the high school I went to was in the middle of nowhere. I think that everyone has a very unique high school experience, but I had some weird stuff happen in high school. I decided I wanted to tell this one story, and I'm gonna tell this first, about how when I was in high school, a teacher blatantly body shamed me, blatantly called me fat. I realized that was not the only circumstance where I have literally been told that I was fat by a teacher, or my body been made fun of or something like that. And so I'm going to tell you not one, not two, but three stories, and I feel like there might be more than this, but these are just the three that I can remember from elementary school to high school where teachers literally body shamed me. All right, so the first story and the worst story was when I was probably 17, and it was right after I had kind of come out of my eating disorder, and I was still struggling really badly with my body. I was gaining a lot of weight really fast, and I definitely felt uncomfortable. And so there was this one teacher, and I'm not going to say even what department they taught, because if I did, everyone who went to my former high school would know who I'm talking about. And this one person in particular was just too friendly with the female students, if you catch my drift, and just made inappropriate remarks, was a little bit too handsy, and he got away with murder, essentially. Never lost his job or anything like that, and I don't think that most of the girls who felt uncomfortable ever reported anything. This one teacher had let me stay in his classroom, and we're just kind of chatting off and on while I'm doing my homework in there. And he leaves his work and looks at me, and I'm kind of across the room from him. And he says, "You know, you have such a pretty face." And the second he said that, every inch of my skin started just crawling, and it felt really gross, and I just thank you. I guess being bigger at this point, and especially I had just lost all that weight, from being sick, and I just gained a lot of it back. I was really used to people telling me I had a pretty face. I was never just called pretty. I was told that I had a pretty face, or that this part of me was pretty and this part of me was pretty. But because I was fat, I was never pretty, This statement in itself is very strange. This entire thing was very strange. So he tells me I have a very pretty face, and he asks why I stopped running cross country or something like that. Why I wasn't, no, it wasn't cross country. This was why I wasn't doing track. There were a lot of reasons why I wasn't running track, and I was just oh, I don't want to. That was what I said. And he's just staring me down. He's got his arms, I'm just gonna give you a mental image. This old ass man is just sitting there with his arms folded, staring at me across the room. And he says, "Well, you really should do a sport this season because you're so pretty, and I think you would look even prettier if you maybe worked a little more of the weight off." For a minute, I kind of laughed. I was really nervous when he said it, because he said it and he still stared at me. And I did one of those little, nervous, what the fuck laughs. And he went back to what he was doing, and I was just did that really just happen? And I didn't even know what to say. Who does that? Who says that to a 17-year-old? I didn't know what to say. I didn't know what to do. This probably was in my junior year of school. So I kind of fake did work for another minute or two, because I didn't want to just bolt after he said something like that, which is so sad that I was I felt I don't know. I didn't know what to do. I didn't want to bolt right after that. And I just kind of sat there and did my work. And then after a minute or so, I got up and I was okay, well, thanks for letting me, work in your classroom. And I never told my parents, and I never told a principal. I never did anything. And I really hate that I didn't do anything, because that's just gross. That's the creepiest thing in the entire world. It was really inappropriate. It was really out of place. It isn't his spot to say anything like that. And also, I'm 17. You don't, 16, 17, whatever I was, you don't say things like that to a kid when you're an adult. And you don't say things like that to anyone, period. That was the worst thing in the entire world. It really, it messed with me for a really long time. My next one goes back a lot of ways in time to when I was in, I think, second grade. Most of my teachers did not like me at the school that I went to. This was a very wealthy private school, and my family was not wealthy, not in any way, shape, or form. My parents were both teachers. They have been my entire life. And essentially, I was there on scholarship because they were teachers. So a lot of the kids that I was going to school with, their parents were really rich and my family was not. Most of my teachers did not like me for one reason or another. And maybe it's because I was a kiss ass. It may have nothing to do with anything I've just said. I might have just been a kiss ass and they didn't like that. But my gym teacher hated me. And I feel like that's a really strong word to use for like an adult's feelings towards a child, but I really think he hated me. I was a bigger kid, like obviously. I've always been really heavy. And even when I was younger, I really did like sports a lot, especially like probably like age 5 to 10, I really liked sports and I liked playing team sports. This guy would just look for reasons to yell at me. And if I did perfectly, like I remember when I was younger, for whatever reason, I was okay at like basketball. I remember like shooting, we were supposed to make 5 hoops. Like it was so simple and there were basketball things like all around the gym. We were all supposed to make 5 hoops in order to complete the exercise. So I made my 5 hoops and I was like one of the first ones done. And so I went over to the sidelines where you went after you shot your 5 hoops. And my gym teacher yelled at me and he told me like, there's no way you did them that fast. Like get your butt back over there. And he told me, get your butt back over there and go shoot like your 5 hoops. I was so scared to be in trouble that I went back and I did it again. And I know he was watching me, like, cause I kind of glanced at him out the, side of my eye or whatever. And I shot my 5 hoops and I went back. And he said that last one, like, you can't excuse that for a hoop or whatever. And it hadn't like, whatever it was, like I had made the ball in the hoop. Like it hadn't like bounced off and then magically jumped back in there. Like it went through the hoop, the hole, whatever. And he was like, you can't pass that as getting it through the hoop. Go do 5 more. And I was the only one he picked on like that. And so I went and I did my 5 hoops and whatever. This was not the like meat and potatoes of the story. Like that was, ew, that's a gross. That's a gross like phrase. Have you ever really thought about that? We were playing soccer, which he knew was one of my favorite sports ever. Like I really excelled in soccer, at least at the time, and I loved playing it. Like it made me so, so happy. And before we started soccer that day, he made us run laps around the gym to warm up. And I was not even like the last person running. Even if I was, I think that this would have been really mean to do to a kid or mean to do in general. Loey, run faster. And like, I wasn't even the last one in the group. Like I was not like super up there, but I wasn't that slow. And so I started running faster and he yelled at me again and he said, I told you to run faster. And so I started running faster and I felt like I was gonna vomit. Like I was really pushing it. He started picking the teams for soccer and he basically told me to sit out. And I asked why, and he said, because you didn't run faster when I told you to, and you'll hold your team back no matter what team you're on. It's not fair to the other kids. There was another time where he blatantly called me fat. Something with a ball and a net. Maybe it was volleyball, I don't know. And he basically gave my opposing team a point when they had completely missed, I don't remember what they did, but essentially like, I think that they threw the ball in penalty zone, whatever, I really don't know sports anymore. But whatever it was, they did that. And I remember he gave them the point anyways. And there was this kid in my class who was really good friends with me. And we both were just like, that wasn't like in the field. Like that wasn't in the goal, blah, blah, blah. Loey, go sit out. Like you're not in this game anymore. And he didn't yell at the other kid. And I had never challenged a teacher before, but it was really frustrating and it was so blatant. And so I was the only one who had to go and sit out. And he walked up to me and like, he was like, I'm writing you up. Like after the class was all over, like when everyone was dispersing and getting their bags and stuff, he was like, I'm writing you up. Like I'm calling your parents. Like you are not going to play another team sport in my class because not only does your weight hold you back, but you're not willing to learn. You're not willing to put in effort, blah, blah, blah. I would tell you guys if I was like a little shit and like he told me to speed up or something and I didn't speed up. I still think that that was kind of inappropriate for a gym teacher to do, but whatever it might be, like whatever he asked of me, I did it. I was terrified of teachers. I was terrified of everyone. And I did what he said. And I seriously can't believe he never wrote me up. He never called my parents. I never told my parents. Again, I never told a teacher or a principal or anything like that. All right, so this last story, let's jump back forward. Sorry, I feel like this entire timeline is so out of order. To high school. And I feel like this, I'm not gonna say what year it was in so that no one can figure out who this was. We had different principals, vice principals, different like leadership of our school every single year that I was in high school. This school system was a little bit messy, and essentially like they couldn't keep a principal or a vice principal. So one of the years that I was in school, one of the leadership people, so principal, a vice principal, whatever, use your imagination, I'm not calling anyone out, I got in trouble for the dress code a lot while I was in high school. And I think that like any girl on earth will tell you that they've gotten in trouble for the dress code. They called me, they stopped me like first thing in the morning and told me that I needed to come to the principal's office because the skirt that I was wearing was too short. But I know for a fact it hit like the 4 inches above the knee rule, because like I think that it's like this much above your knee you can like have showing, and I wasn't even like showing it. It was in winter and I was wearing like tights. And I'm so used to this at this point. I'm so used to constantly getting in trouble for the dress code, no matter like how meticulously I measure things, no matter what I do. Unless I'm wearing jeans and like a high neck t-shirt, I get called into the principal's office. And I'm not like victimizing myself or saying that this was only me. Almost every other girl in a small group of friends that I had got in trouble for dress code. I don't want to make any generalizations, but it tended to be the bigger girls, like the girls with curves, and I'm just gonna leave it at that. I had a friend once in trouble for wearing leggings. She was wearing a knee-length skirt with leggings, and they weren't even leggings, they were stirrup pants, like thick stirrup pants. There was no, okay, so yeah, she had to change, even though she was like, even without the pants, she was still not in violation of the dress code, and it didn't matter. So I was called into the principal's office. I was so used to it by now, I wasn't even shocked, and they were reprimanding me for basically this person reprimanding me for breaking the dress code over and over and over and taking so much of their time and like messing with the entire student faculty because like I couldn't get my shit together essentially. Like they made it seem like it was a really huge deal. And I kind of heard this song and dance before whenever I got into trouble for the dress code. Sometimes, like, depending on the person, they would just tap me on the shoulder and be like, okay, you need to go home and change. Sometimes I would get yelled at. Like, it really depended on the day. Sometimes my parents were called, sometimes they weren't. It was weird. So this particular time I was yelled at. My dad worked at this school, so I kept like a spare change of clothes in his office whenever this happened. And you know, like this was just kind of the way of this school, and both my parents knew that, and they never really argued with it. Like I think that they must have tried a couple of times and then gave up, because like what can you do? If they say it's in violation, it's in violation. Like there's nothing that could be done. So I had stopped arguing, I'd stopped fighting, I kept that spare change of clothes. And so I'm like, okay, like I'll go change, whatever. And this person is threatening me, like in school suspension, like they're threatening to punish me for this, like actual punishment. And I think that the fact that I was so nonchalant and I didn't give a rise, I didn't get that rise that I think that this person wanted me to, really upset them, because I was very emotional and I had cried, I had like not thrown tantrums or anything like that, but I gotten really worked up in the past. And this time I was just like, whatever, I don't care. And so I started to leave and they stopped me and they kind of glanced me over and like made a face. So they said, you'll thank me later, and then gave me that once over and said, it's not exactly appropriate someone like you to be wearing. It was literally the nastiest thing in the entire world. And I have to tell you, I think that this was the last experience I was body shamed at school, or like literally made fun of by a teacher. And I was unfazed. I was just like, whatever, like I'm used to it. Who gives a crap at this point? Because I understand that this is just my life. And I regret to say that they did get the rise out of me that they wanted. I didn't cry in their office, but I went back and I cried later, and I told my dad it was just because I broke the dress code and because I felt really sad that I had broken the dress code and I was always getting in trouble and this and that, and I never told them. Like, I never told my parents anything. And this is a life lesson for you, my children. If a teacher makes you uncomfortable, if an authority figure makes you uncomfortable, please tell another adult. Because no matter who they are, if they're another teacher that you feel like you can trust, if it's a principal, if it's like your parents, if it's like your bus driver, you need to tell someone. Because I just feel like a lot of people got away with a lot more than they should have when I was younger. And that is my story time, ladies and gentlemen. So if you've had any weird teacher experiences, let me know in the comments down below. Or if you guys want a very funny story time about some weird crap that happened in my high school, I have some teacher stories that are a lot more lighthearted than this. So I'm gonna go ahead and go. Let me know what you guys want. And of course, thumbs up the video if you did enjoy, and check out this little playlist right now. And basically you guys can go watch more Storytime videos of mine. I love you guys so, so much. I will see you in my next video. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope you have a great day.